I got another minute. You guys almost ready here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Ready.
I'll wait till the clock turns here. Put on your seatbelts.
You just can't be as fast as the chief's safety meetings.
Well, I have a habit of talking fast, so I'll try and talk slow. All right, I got 6:30. You ready?
Yep, do it.
Michelle, we live?
Yes, you are.
All right, very good. And with that, I would like to call to order the monthly meeting of the Mantua Village Council on September 15th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. And we are going to begin this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. And if you do not have a flag, I will share one here. And while I do that, do we have any veterans on the line?
I am.
Marty is.
Yeah, I figured we had, I don't know everybody's personal history. So Marty.
Too.
Oh, all right, very good. Thank you for your service, guys. All right, Marty, would you care to, hang on here, let me share. Everybody got the flag?
Oh, right on, Matt.
Yep, would you care to lead us off here?
Ready?
Ready.
Ready.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag
Flag
of the United
to the United
States
States
of
of
America.
America,
And to the
republic
Republic
which is
which stands one nation
nation
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and
Justice
for all.
justice
for all.
very good, thank you.
Zoom had a bit of problem keeping up with us.
Yeah,
No,
we figured it out.
You
though. I
need
started
to, you need to,
myself
you need
with
to get the roll call, Matt.
What's that?
You need to have the roll, Jenny can have the roll call.
Yeah, I was just going in order here.
Oh,
Yep, next up is a moment of silence. Does anybody have anybody or anything they'd like to have a moment of silence for?
oh, man.
No.
Okay, very good. Jenny, would you please take roll call?
I will. Matt,
Yes, present.
Ben,
Here,
Marty.
Here.
Scott,
Here.
Paula,
Here,
Tammy.
Here.
Excellent. All right, it looks like the first order of business here is to accept the meetings from the August 18th, the minutes from the August 18th meeting. Has everybody reviewed those and does anybody have any issues with them?
motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Matt,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes,
Scott,
Yes.
Paula,
yes,
Tammy,
Yes.
Marty.
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, next up, we have the mayor's report. And the only thing I have here is the mayor received some correspondence from the PCRPC, which is the Portage County Regional Planning Commission, asking us to submit a letter of support for a USDA grant called the RPIC, which stands for the Rural Placemaking Innovation Challenge. And it seems like it's basically centered around expanding broadband access to rural areas. And there's also some language in there about technical innovations and workforce opportunities. Here, before I continue, I'm going to go ahead and put the letter up and share it here. Let me do that first real quick. So that way everybody can see it if they want to. There's the letter. And so it basically says that, and what isn't included here is there is an 85-15 split in terms of the cost for any of the projects that we decide to go forward with here. But the cool thing about that is that they will accept the time served from a committee of 3 members of the community instead of, like actually having to pay money. So they'll consider time served as an in-kind contribution to that 85-15 split. And again, it's just for, infrastructure. It sounds like technical projects and things like that. And the reason why we have to bring it up now is because we didn't get the request until last Wednesday, really just in time for the Service and Finance meeting. And the submission of the letter of support was due on the 10th. So in those meetings, if I recall correctly, we asked Rich to go ahead and submit that letter of support, and then we would come to council a few days later today and retroactively approve that. So again, we're not really committing to anything. It's just a letter of support, kind of throwing our name in the hat that we want to be part of this grant. So if possible, I would like to ask for a motion to approve the submission of the letter of support.
So moved.
Second,
Oh,
Ben,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Scott,
yes.
Tammy,
Yes.
Paula.
yes.
Very good.
And Rich, thank you for taking care of that.
Okay. Next up here, we have the citizens. Michelle, is there any citizens on?
Nobody yet, but check back with me or I'll take the opportunity to interrupt if we have any questions.
Okay.
Mike is here, yeah.
Oh, I mean, I thought you meant like by way of,
Mike, you don't count.
no, Mike counts all the citizens that are included in the meeting count, but the ones you can't see are the ones that'll be sending me email.
Okay.
that I'll have to interrupt you with. But nobody yet on that respect.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And I also want to recognize that we have Ted Bixler on the line. Ted, as I mentioned last week, has been just superb in representing the village and the ad hoc committee during the negotiations with the Portage County about the management of the wastewater and the water and the sewer treatment plants. So thank you very much, Ted, for your efforts there. And we appreciate your time on the call. And then I saw Mike's face pop up there for a second. Mike is from the Bentry Condo Association. We have a ordinance here that we're going to be talking about in a little bit that Mike can tell us about in some great detail. So thanks for joining us, Mike. Are you out there? Just making sure.
Mike and Graham, looks like.
Yep, Mike and Graham.
All right, very good, guys.
Oh, there you
Again,
go. Okay.
thanks for joining us. Okay, cool. Next is the financial reports. Jenny, anything there you want to cover?
Well, I can give you an update to our tax receipts. I went with the end of August, just an even cutoff. Our property taxes are down about 2,500. Income tax is down about 450. Local government funds, which is sales tax, we're up about 1,300 now. Road levy taxes are up 3,000. Gas tax is up 14,000, which considering what we had expected to get, the extra amount, that's still a little bit under where we should be. License tax is still down quite a bit, almost 30,000. CDLs renew next month, so we should start getting some of that money back. And permissive is down about $900. Today, we received our second coronavirus stimulus check from the Portage County Auditor. And this one is in the amount of $32,142.73. And so far, I think we've spent maybe 12,000, which includes the 7,000 that we gave to the fire district. So I'm glad that the state is looking out for small governments during this crisis. And I hope that we're going to be returning a good sized chunk back to the taxpayers of Ohio to help keep our state solvent. Then it was brought to my attention that all these years I've been submitting pre-Memorial Day wages to the Cemetery Trust, and I should have been getting council approval. And I apologize for that. I didn't realize that it changed with the 2018 legislation. Anyway, I have a list of hours prepared that I was going to send to the trust, and the total amount that I'm going to request reimbursement for is $1,191.65, which is much lower than we usually request. But I'm going to need a motion to send this forward to the trust.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Matt,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Tammy,
Yes.
Paula,
Yes,
Ben.
Yes.
Okay, and then the last thing that I have is last month, council approved $1,000 additional to CT for the Booker Trail work authorization. And we don't actually have it in the fund. I know Rich said that it's covered under the grant because we're running under, but I still have to make a PO. So do you want me to use the general fund then?
There's nothing else you can do if we've already approved it and didn't have the funds. It's got to be that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then if anybody has any questions on the financial reports, I'm happy to answer those. Otherwise, I'm done.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Jenny.
Yeah,
Like a
thank you.
motion to approve the financial reports?
So moved.
I'll second.
Matt,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Paula,
Yes.
Marty.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Next up is correspondence. Any correspondence?
I don't have any.
We got that one from Harry Booker. Did everybody get that one?
Yeah.
Email?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up later when John was talking.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
Okay. Cool. We good on that?
Yep.
Okay. Next up, bills and addendum bills of resolution. Jenny, anything there?
If anybody had any questions, there's nothing really unusual here.
Mm-mm.
I don't have any questions. Motion to approve the bills, the resolutions, and the addendums.
Second.
I'll second that.
Marty,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Tammy,
Yes.
Paula,
Yes.
Ben.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, next we have legislation. Now, Mike and Graham are on the call, and they're not kind of towards the bottom. Are we allowed to bump things up just to maybe?
Yes. Yeah. Matt, you do what you need to do to get them off the line if they need to.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want them to be here for an hour waiting for their
No,
turn.
it's crazy.
Okay, so let's just skip ahead. We're going to look at ordinance number 2020-44. Verbatim, an ordinance acknowledging the inability of the Village of Mantua to provide sanitary sewer service to the Bentry Condominium Association, permitting Portage County to provide the service pursuant to the terms of the existing sanitary sewer service agreement, and declaring an emergency. Mike, would you care to fill everybody in on the backstory of this? I think you'll do a better job than I.
We've been working with the EPA and the county for, well, I'd say a year and a half at least, at minimum, trying to get our septic plant collapsed into a grinder pump and force feed it up through Route 44, where the county has a line going by the Bentry Condo Association buildings up there. And working on this and much correspondence back and forth, engineering plans done. We finally come to a point where we're trying to get started building. We got a letter that says we need to pay tap-in fee to Mantua and we need to pay a tap-in fee to the county. And those forms that John True has those also, or that letter that came from the county. And that means that, that 4,300 from owner to pay the county, 4,300 to pay the village, so 8,300 to tap in, times 14 condos into 1 2-inch line that gets tapped in. So there's 118,000, I believe, total, which is not affordable by any condo owner down there that pay double tap-in fees and tapping in one line into the county sewer system. So we asked John about it, and he's on. He may be able to comment more on how the village would take $1 million or $2 million to put a line up there from your current grinder pump or lift station down at the corner there by Heinel's, we'll call it, to put a new line all the way up to the Bentry. And so that's where we're at now, is asking, isn't it in all fairness, one tap-in fee should be paid by each owner there, not double tap-in fees, doubling the fees that would have to be
Right.
raised by everybody to do this.
Mike, I got a question. Who said that you had to pay double fees?
Uh,
Got a letter from the county. Portage County sent us a letter and it was an estimate. What they did is they estimated by the bedroom. So they took what their normal tap-in fees and what Manaway's normal tap-in fees were, and they estimated them at just over 118,000.
And we provided those letters to John, I believe.
If I'm correct, I think that line out there is the county line, not Manaway line.
That's correct.
Why is it 2 tap-in fees then if it's the county line, not the Manaway line?
Well, they started citing this precedence that they thought was a precedence with Dave Green, but it doesn't apply to us. He was a commercial, I feel it doesn't apply to us. He was a commercial building that he went and did it his way and then finally fought the village and worked in the county and
I remember that.
So I think they were trying to apply the same rule. We'll call it the Dave Green rule.
Because that's the day she called me, and all they had was a green precedent to do it. So they knew no other way at the time. It was a starting point, and then try to figure it out from there. And that's when they brought us involved too also. And we said, wait a minute, we can negotiate something. It is in our service area, but we still will receive, even though we get a tap to the county, we're going to receive funding as it goes through, and the county will still be paying us. So it's not like the Manaway Village won't be receiving funds from this sewer.
That's correct. That's correct, John, but I don't see why that we should charge them a tap-in fee, not our sewer line.
Ben, the service department voted to bring this to council because we agree with you. We want to waive our fee.
I agree.
But
I agree.
Paula, I read your letter. And
I just wanted to put that out to make sure everybody was aware of that as we go forward with this,
No, that was great. I read it today and
Yeah.
right. So I think we need to defer to Michelle
But
about what you brought up because
everybody needs to be aware of it is the thing.
yeah, right.
Well, what are we being aware of? I haven't heard it yet.
Can we ask what was brought up?
Yeah.
It was the issue that as with the way the ordinance was written, it says we as Manaway defer the collection of that money, of the secondary tap-in fee.
The 2020-44.
Yeah, and it's basically saying, as long as we realize that we're giving up around $60,000, someplace in that vicinity, that as if this agreement with the county that is not in place right now, if it doesn't come to fruition, we from the village are saying, we don't need that money, or we're not keeping that money for our capital improvement funds later. And that's what I just wanted to make sure that council realized and accepted.
And one other point that, we are water customers up there also. So the water is metered, and there is a 25% surcharge that we've been paying for many, many years. To any water resident outside of any water, I'll call it recipient, outside of the village pays up 25% surcharge on their bill for water.
It's just that we're kind of in this where you got to be aware of it as you're moving forward.
Yep, but I think like Rich brought up at service though, Paula, I mean, the county has bought X amount of
I'm not
footage.
saying it, but I think it had to be before council because it doesn't it affects our monies if we end up
Correct.
retaining them. And that's the issue. If we end up retaining them, we're accepting the fact that,
Yeah, right. That we have to waive that right. I mean, we.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm for that. I mean, I don't think we have the right to that money. The county has paid us for X amount of footage in the
I'm just
sewage
amazed that,
treatment plant.
yeah, they want one tap-in fee
Right.
and it's for 14 units. It's like,
Yes.
whoa.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay,
That's really the way that it's always done. So,
Mhm.
and we were arguing with the county because originally they were gonna say that we were a commercial entity. And they were gonna charge us one tap-in fee at 77,000. And then when we tried to explain to them we're not commercial, there's 14 individual units. It's just a mess the way that it is
Yeah.
with apartment buildings or whatever.
Right.
And so that's when they went back to,
By the bedroom.
because truthfully, if they charge us one tap-in fee as a commercial rate, we would only have one sewer bill. So that would be fine with us. But the way that it should be is one tap-in fee, you're gonna get 14 units that are gonna pay a sewer bill.
Right.
Everybody pays their own sewer bill and their own water bill.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions or concerns or anything?
What do we need is a motion to not charge a tap-in fee for that connection.
Well, first we need to declare an emergency, so I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Tammy,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes,
Matt,
Yes.
Paula,
Yes.
Marty? Marty?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Just so the minutes are clear, that was a motion to suspend the rules.
Suspend the rules, yes.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2020-44.
I'll second.
And I will second.
do we need to amend it? Or we just need a motion not to, later on after this, not to charge them a tap-in fee from the village?
The way it's written, we wouldn't.
Right.
We just have to accept what's written and there's
Right.
no additional tap-in fee.
All right,
Scott?
Yes.
Marty? Ben?
yes,
Tammy?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
There you go,
Very
gentlemen.
good. There you go, guys.
One more question and we'll drop off. Thank you, everybody, for the comment first.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you for
you.
passing that.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
The other question, I think we'll need, as soon as this is in writing, we'll need this to send off to the EPA and or the county at least, and get things moving really quickly so we can see if we can get this plant collapsed and, into the county here before the end of this year, since our license expires in November.
Ooh,
well, once it's passed as an emergency and they suspend the rules, it's in effect just as soon as it's signed.
So how do I go about, just one last question again, how do I go about getting that paperwork so I can get it to the county?
I think Matt
I
can
don't know
sign
when
it.
they're gonna sign it. Whenever they sign it, it should be tomorrow sometime. Someone will sign it. Just call them up down there at the village hall and go get it.
All right,
Okay.
A
Thank you.
copy of it.
Michelle, can Matt sign it in lieu of the mayor?
Yep, he's the acting mayor.
Okay,
Yes.
there we go.
I'm around all day.
Okay,
thank you.
thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate the time. Okay, next item up for bids. Ordinance number 2020-30, an ordinance amending chapter 504 of the zoning ordinances of the Village of Mantua relating to the authority of the Planning Commission and the Board of Zoning Appeals to waive fees. This is the third reading. What I would add to this is the language of the ordinance. The changes being made is it's the ability to waive fees for nonprofits and hardship cases. So I think it needs to be tabled, right?
I'm not going to vote for it. The fees should go through council.
Yeah, I'm with you. We still have to table it though, right?
Yes.
All right. That's fine with me.
May I please have a motion and get a motion to table?
Motion to table.
Second,
Ben,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Paula,
yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Tammy,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Ordinance number 2020-31. An ordinance amending chapter 610 of the zoning ordinances of the Village of Mantua relating to site plan review submittals. And this was the one where you have architecture plans and things like that. They used to want 14 copies, and we're trying to get that reduced down to 4 copies plus 1 electronic copy. It looks like for the same reason as the prior ordinance, we have to table this one for another month, all right?
Motion to table.
Second.
Matt,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Paula,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Tammy.
Yes.
You know, I've been trying to get that number of site plan reviews down for years. It costs money to do those things.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
Very good. Okay, resolution 2020-35 amended. A resolution authorizing CT Consultants to provide engineering services for the Prospect Street roadway and drainage improvements project phase 2 at a cost not to exceed $49,500 and declaring an emergency. Now, this is the second reading, and we've been going back and forth on this one. And quite frankly, I would like to see us iron out our differences tonight and do what we can to move this forward. Because from what I'm gathering here, everything here is set to go with this. All the money is in place. We just need to approve engineering for this. So I'd like to work through this and see what we need to do to get this moving forward.
I'm really glad, Matt, that at the last council meeting, you asked for a kind of a breakdown of how those costs were going. And to see that there's 2,000 for the initial submission and then 20,000 for the engineering and then 35,000 toward supervision. And I would think that the 35,000 supervision is to have a CT person out there as the construction is going on to answer questions.
Correct, Paula. Yes, that's correct.
And so they'll be there the whole time.
During construction activity, yes, absolutely.
Okay. And that might be something that in the future, as we move forward with some of these, we should try to see, are there other people in our, as that could handle some of these oversights internally. So that was one of the major reasons I brought it up initially, is to sort of start to think about future. And it's not always that we have to go forward with the way it's been, but to try and think about how can we go forward and save some dollars.
This is an OWPC grant. Is it?
Correct, yes.
Well, in the OWC pay estimate, there is a section in there that pays for construction. So we're gonna pay them for construction now, and then we're gonna pay them, they're gonna get paid again for it. I don't go along with that.
No, if I may, Matt, this was a question you raised last month. It's pay as you go. So as the construction payments are approved, we process the request for disbursement for
Yeah,
the
I did
building.
it for 15 years, I know.
In processing those, does that fall under the $35,000 fee?
Yes, I explained that all in detail, great detail in that email. Yes, Paula, it's all included.
Okay, so when we pay this 49,000, that covers the West Prospect from cemetery to high.
Phase 2, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And so that part up there, that pay estimate request for OWPC, it says construction, is the village going to be reimbursed for that, or are they going to file and get that? That's my point. We're paying, to me, it sounds like we're paying them twice.
No. You're funded at 70, on this project, you're funded at 72% of all costs. You're receiving a grant to build the project of $387,000. Your local share is $150,000. So you're paying a portion, a percentage, but 72% is being funded by the state.
That's not what I said. That has nothing to do with what I said, Mr. Ifeles. In those grants, up there in the top part, there's change orders and construction stuff, and we're gonna be paying for the construction part and now in this 49,000. And then when you do that request for payment for OWPC, you're gonna ask for it again.
Ben, I don't think I
To
can.
me,
double
you're getting
dip,
paid twice for it.
but I don't think I can double dip.
It's all these years. This is the 35th year of this program. No, I can't bill twice for the same work, but I'm sorry. I just don't understand what you're saying, or if you're accusing us of doing something improper.
I'm not accusing you of doing something improper. I'm just saying that if we pay you for construction out of this 49,500, and
Right.
then when that pay estimate request for OWPC's file, there's a place in there up there for engineering fees that says construction. If we're paying you now, and then you're gonna pay again, you're gonna get paid a second time for it. That's what I'm saying.
That's, first of all, that's impossible. Just as the 72% is paying for construction, it's paying 72% of all engineering services as well. I don't know how else to explain it.
That's fine. That's fine. I don't buy it, but that's fine. Well, I've got nothing else to say.
Okay. So moving this forward, do we try and declare an emergency and suspend the rules?
I will make a motion to suspend the rules.
I will second that.
Scott,
Yes.
Ben,
No,
Marty,
Yes.
Paula,
Yes,
Matt,
Yes.
Tammy.
Yes.
the one thing before we go forward with another motion, I just want to make sure that finance oversees and stays on top of it. Okay, so I'll make a motion to accept this ordinance.
And I will second it.
Tammy,
Yes.
Ben,
no,
Scott,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Paula.
Yes,
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, moving on. Resolution 2020-39, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Portage County Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor and declaring an emergency. The way I understand it, this is basic housekeeping that happens every year.
Yes.
yeah,
Okay, may I please get a suspension of the rules?
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Ben,
yes,
Scott,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Tammy,
Yes.
Paula,
yes.
Marty.
Yes.
Very good, thank you.
We have to pass it now, Matt.
Oh, yeah, right. Yep.
Move to pass.
second,
Matt,
Yes.
Tammy,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Ben,
yes,
Paula,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Very good, thank you. Ordinance number 2020-40, an ordinance authorizing certain adjustments to the 2020 appropriations and declaring an emergency. I like this. This is keeping the purse strings tight. I'm okay with this. May I please get a suspension of the rules?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Ben,
yes,
Marty,
Yes.
Paula,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Tammy,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
May I please get a motion to approve?
so moved,
Second.
Scott,
Yes.
Ben,
yes,
Matt,
Yes.
Paula,
Yes.
Tammy,
Yes.
Marty.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, ordinance 2020-41. An ordinance appropriating funds to run the village of Mantua during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021, and declaring an emergency. Again, this seems to be more not housekeeping, but funding for 2021. And I understand we usually have a workshop that goes along with this, right?
We typically do, but I'm not sure that we need to this year because we didn't change any numbers at all from what council approved in our budget.
God knows I think we've had 2 or 3 workshops over the past year over it anyway.
Yeah, if John or Joe, if they have any changes, I mean, we don't know anything about the water and sewer at this point, but we might have changes later in the year.
We can always make changes.
Right.
So there's an opportunity here to have more than this workshop throughout the course of the year.
Oh, sure.
We've
Up
already
till-
done that many
Because
times.
I feel like we did one back in
We've
Well,
been over it and over it and over it and over it and over it.
Our third reading is in November. So, if we go the 3 readings and in November, we can make any changes after the election.
Is
Okay.
there a reason we need to, I mean, it's got down here and declaring an emergency. Is there any reason we need to go forward with this month?
I thought I took that out.
No,
Mine doesn't say emergency.
wait, where is it?
Mine says
If it was an emergency, even so, it wouldn't matter if it went 3 readings or 1 reading, it would go into effect immediately. If the emergency language was out, it would go into effect 30 days after it was passed, whenever that was, whether it was tonight or November. So either way, it'll be in effect prior to the 1st of January.
That's when it's got to be into effect.
We can let it go 3 readings, Matt, if
Yes.
everybody's all right with that. Let's just let it go.
No problem, that's fine with me.
If anything changes, we can fix it on our way,
Or we can pass it under emergency at second reading.
if need
Correct.
be. Sure
If
thing.
need be.
Understood. So we're good for now on this one.
Yeah.
Resolution 2020-42, a resolution authorizing certain fund transfers by the clerk treasurer between the water and sewer operating funds and the respective debt service reserve funds necessary to meet the 2021 debt requirements. Again, this is something that looks like it's just annual housekeeping that we have to do here.
Every year,
But if we go 3 readings, then by November, we'll know if we even need to do it.
Sure.
This is
Yeah.
all water and sewer debt. So
Right.
that's fine.
That's a good point.
So we're good here.
That's fine. I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's let it ride.
Resolution 2020-43, adoption of the 2021 calendar. More housekeeping.
Yep,
Any issues with the calendar, anybody?
nope,
May I please have a suspension of the rules?
so moved.
I'll second.
This might be one of those that we let go for the 3 readings because there's no urgency to adopt it. And when we have audits, they kind of look at the issue, how many of your resolutions, ordinances were done as emergencies.
Yep.
Is that true, Jenny?
They do look at that.
Is this is one we can let ride?
Doesn't matter to me one way or the other.
Yeah.
I agree with you,
Let's
Paul.
let it
That's a
ride.
good idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I didn't know they tracked that, so I agree
Yeah.
with that.
Yep.
Okay, we'll let it ride.
All right.
Is that our new catchphrase? Let it ride.
Yeah. We'll kick the can down the road.
Yeah. No, I like let it ride
Yeah,
better.
let it ride.
Let it ride.
Yeah.
Mayor comes back and we'll be like, here you go.
We'll let her ride.
Yeah, just let it ride, man. Okay, so let that go. We just we took care of ordinance 2020-44 with the bench tree situation. We took care of that
Yeah.
first. Okay, and now the fun begins. Resolution 2020-45. A resolution authorizing a memorandum of understanding, or MOU, with the Portage County Commissioners relating to the proposed amendments to ordinance 2019-49 entitled the Manaway Village County of Portage Water and Sanitary Sewer Systems Transfer Agreement and declaring an emergency. Okay, this is the first reading, and this is the water situation. Now, does anybody want to begin discussion on this?
Yeah, I got something to say and I'll try to be brief. We have, I got these numbers from the clerk treasurer. Y'all can verify them. I might be off a few dollars. The billing, the budget, and the surcharge comes up to $1.1 million a year. And I'm having a hard time understanding why we can't do some operating and maintenance with that. And the other thing I got is that the water plant, the wastewater treatment plant with all the buildings there and both the land they're sitting on, the pump stations, the lift station, and the reservoir drive, we fixed to spend $500,000 on that. There's about $7 or $8 million to rehab them plants. So with the $13 million, we know what the $13 million is that so-called identified needs. So that's, you're talking about over $20 million we're giving to them. I think there should be some consideration monetarily from them for the land and the buildings because they're worth something. And all them lines that were put in, we paid taxes, taxpayers, we might not have been off all of them, but maybe our parents or grandparents, y'all's only been here 25 years. No contractor came in and put those lines in for nothing. So we paid for them. There should be some consideration for the buildings, the land, the pump stations, booster stations, the lift station, and all them easements we paid for. There's an easement going out to the water line to the fire station. There should be some kind of monetary consideration for that. I'm done. And there's no consideration for it. I'm sorry. I have been reading everything and I haven't seen anything that's saying that there's some kind of consideration for all the money the taxpayers in this village is paid for that stuff. And I'm done. Y'all can, I'm not going to go along with it, and y'all know that. I got no disrespect for any of you. You got a right to call it like you see it, and I respect that. That's it, I'm done.
You just want
Does
somebody
anybody
else.
want to offer any commentary to what Ben just said? Richard or anybody?
I want to hear from Ted, honestly.
Yeah, I was gonna get to Ted. Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody.
Sorry, Matt, you're asking me?
No, Ted Bixler.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. And I'd first like to thank everybody on both sides of the negotiating teams, both those here and Dave and Linda and Gene and his company. And this has been a difficult and not unemotional process, Ben. So I nod with your understanding of how we did not get a perfect solution here. There were a few elbows thrown and a few voices raised here and there, but everybody stayed professional. And we came to what we think is a better agreement where the county begins to recognize that as they begin to leverage the use of the two plants, that they contribute in some way toward their rehabilitation. And I could give you the 3 points of summary that I have in my update to the ad hoc committee and other stakeholders. And then if you have any questions on the details of those, I'd be happy to try and explain them along with John and Rich and Matt. The surcharge, as you know, the original agreement has this set at some $87 as a flat rate for every meter in the village district. That's about 500. The concern was that the flat charge would be a detrimental impact on our low to moderate income folks. And here's why we believe that. We went from what was about a $55 minimum bill here earlier this year before the latest, before the village put on the surcharge for the meters and other things. That customer would have seen a new bill of about $152. Well, now that's including the 87.50 or 87.63 surcharge, plus the new minimum of $65. And since there's a significant portion of our residents who are LMI folks, that would cause us to begin to lose citizenship, especially since we're a small community. Somebody move outside the village, 10 feet, their water bill comes down by almost $100. So that was one of the considerations. What we've done now, the county proposed that we adopt an Ohio EPA schedule called the Green Book that says when they are going to look at new construction, that they would look at the wastewater capacity of that new structure or new property. And I think that sounds like with this, with the condo people we're talking about, probably had some effect on them. We're going to use that as a template to assess every property in the village, and then say we're going to instead of calling this an equivalent building usage unit, we're going to call it an equivalent surcharge unit. So, for instance, the single person who makes minimum wage at McDonald's or works at the school and has a 1-bedroom, 1-bath flat in a building, in a multi-tenant building, their surcharge is going to be 0.625 of the 65, and their total bill would be closer to 125, not 150. So there's some reduction and some recognition that there's a curve toward those who will use less water, and also who also don't tax the infrastructure quite as much. Also, for instance, on the commercial side, the barber shop down there has 1 chair, so they would have a $65 minimum if they use water, plus a 0.2 of the $60 or 12, so they would be paying something around $72. And we want to make sure that we don't want to artificially impede commercial development for our small business owners that come and go. So let me go ahead and finish the summary of the other two, and then I'll be happy to entertain questions. The water tie-in between the two systems, as we remember from the identified needs list, the village's original portion to have been paid was close to $600,000. The new summary negotiation with the county, that our share went down from half to 25%. And they also expect that they're going to get up to 90% in grants, and Gene has been pretty confident with that. So our portion of that is probably not going to exceed about $32,000, and we consider that quite a win. Adding customers. Here's the part where there were 2 parts where there were problems with the original agreement. One was impact, and I just talked about the LMI folks.
Ted.
Yes, I'm sorry. Is that better? I'm sorry. Sometimes my audio goes crazy after a bit. Is that any better?
Yes.
You're good.
Okay, thank you. The 2 issues that people had concern with and why this got to a referendum was, again, the impact, and that was mostly the LMI folks and the commercial people who don't use a lot of water. The second is fairness, and it was felt that as the county would properly, in our view, and I hope you share the view, begin to use some of the capacities of these plants outside the village, that they would share in that cost. We didn't get a perfect solution to this, but we do have what I think are legitimate ways that they've begun to share this. And one of them is the tap-in fee. As customers are added, either within or outside the Mantua Village Water and Sewer District, any amount of money over cost, and that's the digging the hole and the admin and all that, will go toward the reducing the surcharge on these and toward the identified needs lists. Also, they would be charged the surcharge itself, and those fees would also go toward reducing the identified needs list. Neither one of those two items were in the original agreement. Let's see, what's the third one here? Oh, there is one exception, and that is the county did kind of stand firm and say, we'll let you do that as things go north to Manaway Corners and east and west from here, but anything tying into the new proposed tie-in water line between the village and the county, they would not apply those two maxims that I just discussed. And the reasoning is that they're going to be paying for the lion's share of that. And the details are both in the MOU and in my write-up of this. So it's an improvement. I know everybody worked very hard on this before we got to this point, and a lot of people have worked very hard on it to get to where we are now. It isn't perfect. I support it, and will recommend that support to people of the ad hoc committee and other stakeholders in town. So with that, any questions?
It's a big improvement.
It is a
Thank
big.
Well, thanks to me and other people on this call and some
Sorry
others as
about
well.
that. I was mute.
Thank you.
The one area that when Richard put out in July, he kind of put out a revised calculation for the surcharge memorandum. And in there, it did show the cost to churches and all of, that just kind of hit me kind of tough that here we have two churches within our boundaries. And there are small churches. They're talking about the number of seats, churches less than 200 sanctuary seats with the kitchen, they're going to end up paying $120 just in the ESU. And then the $65 on top of that. And when you think about those churches, they don't get that much use in the long run, day to day. And I did go out to the Portage County rules and regulations and pulled up and needed to double check that, yep, in their rules and regulations that they have out there, sanctuary seats, and if they get 40 people into church service on Sunday, they're doing good. It's just, that's the one thing that kind of bothers me. Churches. Go ahead.
Well, again, an imperfect solution. However, to be honest, we don't have a good answer for that one, Paula. I simply don't. There is a way that the and now here, I don't want to open up a Pandora's box here, but we have to remember a couple of things. There is a way to come to the village council to say, I'd like you to have another look at this. And then the village council has to approve that, and then it would be put to the Portage County commissioners. And here's the thing we all have to remember if we do this, that any reduction that we make to any given organization or property has to be reflected as an increase in the rest. Okay. And I try to outline that as much as I could in my write-up for the commercial example I gave, whereby we don't want to artificially impede someone wanting to invest in a storefront that had previously been 6 ESUs because it was a restaurant. I'm not sure we have that exact scenario right now, and want to open a bookstore. They're simply not going to go and have to pay $425 a month for water they'll never use. So that's a more extreme example than the church. So there is a mechanism whereby you as a body and then the county as a body have to weigh the impact of any request to have another look at this. So it's not, I'm not saying it should be easy, and I'm not saying we should all have 100 people clamoring at the village hall next month, but there is a way to address it in that manner.
And my other question on this would be, none of the MOU will go into effect unless we convince the residents to, I haven't seen the exact wording on the ballot, but it probably, they have to say, yes, we want to approve ordinance 2019-49 going into effect for this MOU to come back to council and say, okay, now we are saying we want to put this resolution into effect.
Well, I
Yes.
have one comment on that, and then I'll defer to Michelle and company. In my view, it would be better to rescind the current ordinance and then invalidate the referendum. Okay, let me finish. And then have our 3 readings where we could adopt the materially revised agreement, the 3 readings, and then that doesn't have to go onto the ballot. Now, there may be a legal and or other issue that I'm not aware of, and I'll let you know. And the reason I say this is because I think we're going to have some confusion that you just brought up. We're going to ask the voters to approve an agreement and apparently another ordinance with a memorandum of understanding that would then combine them after the fact. If that's the easiest way to do it, then I defer to the council and legal counsel, and we'll support whatever decision you make. But beyond that, it's up to Michelle and Matt and company to comment.
Well, the thing is, before Michelle comments on that, I haven't gotten really a response from anybody anytime I brought that issue up that is on the team, that what is the county's feeling if the residents vote down on the ballot and don't approve the 2019-49, which would negate this MOU.
I think what the county, I think what the county expects, and Gene has commented this to me, that the probable path forward would be that then we go ahead and combine the MOU with the current agreement, make that a new transfer agreement, and then start the process over. I don't foresee that we're going to have the reaction from the residents that we did before. Can I guarantee it? No, but we've worked really hard to say this is better, and we're going to, we'd like to see us move forward with this and get it all behind us.
John, you were shaking your head no, and I just wanted to hear the words behind that.
Yeah, please.
Yes, I think Michelle will explain the legal impact, why the referendum is set, the referendum should be voted on, and the ballot language. I don't know why you don't have it yet, Paula. There must have missed a, Jenny had it, passed it out to all of us last week, I believe. Maybe she missed you, but all that language was sent. It's pretty simple language. The language, and if anybody has it, if you could share that, even that screen to help Paula out. And that's why I was saying, and I think we were thinking, and Michelle too, after we pass the MOU is passed, and then once they affirm that, the MOU will be passed. And that's showing your intent to go with this MOU on that passage. And I believe that's would be the process, but correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle.
Okay, I'm going to jump in here. I do have the ballot language, so I can start with that if you all are ready for that.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, heck. This one. Share. Yes?
There you go.
There it is.
Okay. So you can see a yes vote would be to approve the transfer agreement.
Yeah.
Okay. Jenny, did you write back to them about this apostrophe?
I did, but I see they haven't changed it.
Well, this is the one that you originally sent to me. I haven't seen a new one.
Oh, okay.
So,
I did let them know.
Okay. It's of minimal importance. It's just one of those punctuation things.
I'm with you on
So,
that, Michelle.
anybody have any questions about the ballot language?
Yes.
Yes.
A yes vote says that you are voting down the referendum, a no vote is that you're agreeing with the referendum. Is that right?
Essentially, a yes vote is approving the transfer of the utilities to the county.
In other words, a yes vote is approving ordinance 1949,
Yes.
and a no vote is approving the referendum.
Right.
Essentially,
Okay.
yes. Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to know.
Okay. Okay. So.
Well, no, a no vote doesn't approve the referendum because the referendum doesn't take right, it doesn't take effect then, right?
Right.
A no vote would repeal the ordinance that was
You're
passed by
right,
the council.
Right.
Yes. To the question, to Ted's point of preferring to entirely rescind 2019-49 and start fresh, I can see the desire to do that to possibly decrease confusion. The reason that I am not in favor of doing that, and this is just my feeling, it's not really a legal reason so much as I feel that if we rescind 2020 or 2019-49 and start with a fresh agreement, that agreement could also be subject to a referendum, but that referendum would not occur until November of 2021. So that would be a whole nother year of delay. With the way we're doing it now, with this memorandum of understanding that outlines amendments that would be made if the ballot passes or the voters approve 2019-49, we can use this time between now, first reading, and third reading. That's another issue. When is third reading and when is second reading? To inform the voters as to what the amendments are going to be, what the improvements that we've negotiated are going to be, and hopefully the voters would go to the polls knowing that if it's passed, it will improve immediately after the election. Paula has brought this up, and I do agree that it's confusing to try to expect people to approve something not knowing what its final version is going to be. But again, if we can make that case, then we have the possibility of having this agreement in effect January 1st, 2021, which is, I think, what we all want.
Yes.
So that's my reasoning for feeling that we should do this memorandum of understanding to outline potential changes.
Well, there are risks to both approaches.
Right. So, and if the voters do not pass 2019-49 and more people vote no, then we're basically in the same place we would be if we had rescinded 2019-49 and started afresh.
Right.
So I don't think we lose much, if anything, by going this route first.
Fair enough.
Whoops.
What kind of dog is it?
That woke you up.
Well, we need a little humorous levity there.
He's looking out the window, so it must be outside.
And before I end I've pretty much ended my comments, and thank you all, and would invite Rich and Matt and John to agree, disagree, give their 2 cents on what we've done here.
My only concern is people that have already voted by mail or absentee ballot are not aware of all of the hard work that the ad hoc committee has put into the new agreement.
Well, I wouldn't put it the village negotiating team, because Ted is part of the village negotiating team.
Right.
I
So,
stand corrected.
okay, thank you.
Rich, Matt, and John?
I think you summed it up pretty good in the efforts, and I think we go forward from here. That's, the informational meetings that we can do, and then rely on Ted for the other issues that we may to, speak to people with, but those informational meetings will be very important, explaining what we're trying to do here and why. And remember, our goals were to stabilize the rates and not run people out of town. I think we've surely accomplished this in a very vetted format through the last couple of years here.
Mhm. Yeah.
Rich?
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks, Matt, if I may. So I'm going to try to make it as succinct as possible. You have so much material from me. I don't want to occupy and regurgitate everything. But what I would say is I've been serving this village for over 30 years. And in all this time, in my complete objectivity and professional opinion, this is the most critical decision I think the village faces in my 30 years serving you, and highly recommend it in the interests of the residents of the village, not of any personal agendas or anything. This truly is in the interests of the village. I engineered your facilities. I engineered your plants, both of them. But I saw what occurred with your changing demographics and your changing loss of businesses, and the school leaves town. And also, I don't have to go on, again, I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail, but this clearly, even by the numbers, clearly is in the best interest of the village. There's no doubt about it, in my professional opinion. You're a beautiful little town with a beautiful old infrastructure. It's so old that it requires reinvestment, major reinvestment. I provided you all with an analysis of more than a year ago that the reinvestment by 4 times the value of the land. I'm trying to address Ben's comment about land. We addressed it. This negotiating team looked at what the cost of the land value versus the reinvestment. It wasn't even close. So what you have here is an opportunity to get your drinking water supply and your wastewater plant under far more professional operation. This is a serious industry. And unfortunately, the resources are not available to you to really do it to meet the best standards, not only the standards today, the standards as they continue to get more stringent in the future. So thank you for letting me share that.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, I can't disagree with anything that, John, Rich, and Ted said, especially Rich right there, with it being the most important decision that the village has made. I've only been here for 21 years, and I understand, kind of the gravity of that. So I agree with everything that was said here. In regards to Michelle's, comment about not being sure, like when the readings are going to take place. So this is the first reading. The third reading is going to be the October council meeting. And then what we're intending on doing, and I want to talk about this for a little bit now, is scheduling just that public hearing, public meeting end of September, just so where we could, get together with everybody and talk about it and things like that. So I want to get that, kind of straightened out too here a little bit, but can't disagree with anything that anybody said at this point. And again, just Ted, thank you for all your hard work, and Rich, thank you for all your hard work. Really appreciate it. And John.
Thanks to all of you.
Yeah. So when should we?
I think third reading would be November, Matt.
With the second, with the public meeting that we have in a couple weeks, would that be in a week or two, whatever? Would that be considered the second reading?
I think what we were hoping to do would be to have all 3 readings prior to election day to get as much information about these amendments out to the public as possible. Yep. So I think we were hoping that we could have a special meeting with just this one piece of legislation as the only agenda item potentially, I don't know how you all feel about potentially having it maybe at the park where we could be outdoors and then the public could come and socially distance. Again, the weather's always unpredictable. If it turned out that it was going to rain, maybe we just have a rain date. But I don't know. Let's see, what's our October meeting is the 20th.
Michelle, are we under any COVID limit to how many people we can have gathered? Is that going to be an issue?
I think that outdoors, we're doing everything we can. No,
I think
10?
it's 300. I just,
300. Okay, we're not going to have an issue
We're
then.
not going to have an issue. I was just like,
Right.
oh, yeah.
I mean,
I'm almost positive. I'm due to go to something on Saturday and there was 900 people supposed to go and they said there was only 300 allowed.
right.
So, and it's all outside. So
I know people are doing things in parks, and as long as they're doing their 6-foot radius, that they're okay.
Does anyone have a problem with suspending the rules tonight? I mean, we've talked about this numerous times. I think between Ted and John and Rich and Matt, that all of our questions have been answered. And I would make the motion to suspend the rules just because I want everybody to know how serious we are. If we're all on the same page, I don't want anybody to think we're going to second guess this. And Ted could start spreading the word.
I don't doubt that. I'm sorry. Sorry, I interrupted somebody.
Yeah, I would worry that if we suspended the rules, we would have to vote on it tonight. And that would be without having a meeting of the with the constituents. So I would prefer not to.
Michelle, do we have to have a public meeting?
We don't have to have a public hearing on it, but because these amendments are so critical and they do change some really important aspects of what's going before the voters, my thought, and I'm not going to speak for anybody else, was that having 3 readings is useful for public information. So the public knows that we've negotiated some points that would be put into place. For instance, a much lower surcharge, for instance, a much lower fee for the interconnect. Right now I'm looking at the YouTube feed and there's only 3 people watching and I might be one of them. So, I mean, we're not getting a lot of information to the public about this particular piece of legislation right now. Whereas if we had a special meeting for 2nd or 3rd reading sometime prior to the election, then we would hope that people would come and be part of it and learn more about what these amendments are going to be.
Well, they certainly did last time, and that was precipitated in large part by the broadcast email and broadcast text.
Right.
And to share with the rest of you, and of course Michelle understands this because this came up in the renegotiation committee, is that our belief right now is that it would be better to have another meeting like we had down at the party center, whatever it is, out the village, because this is a very emotional issue and people are going to have questions and we're going to have to answer them in real time instead of just putting out pieces of paper for them to interpret and be frustrated if they don't understand it. So, and I won't speak for the mayor, but I believe she says that she would prefer to do it this way too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we should suspend the rules right now.
I would like to go forward with more readings. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to comment, if we suspend the rules, I still want to have the public hearing, which would completely defeat the purpose of suspending the rules. So,
Yep.
yep.
So at this point, we're moving on.
Yeah.
I believe so. Well, let's talk about the date for that second hearing. When are you guys thinking? I'm thinking like maybe Tuesday the 29th, Wednesday the 30th.
Just let me know.
Yeah,
You know.
okay.
Well, I think we better, yeah, the sooner the better.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that way, that's 2
Not
weeks from now.
Wednesday, the 30th, please. I have been invited out for my 80th and I'm gonna be there.
Happy
Oh,
birthday. Yeah, I don't blame you.
Will
I
you be
waited a
able to
long
stay,
time for this.
will you
Yeah.
be able to stay out late on Tuesday, the 29th then?
Yes,
Okay.
That's awesome, man.
Congrats, Marty.
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, so let's tentatively schedule that meeting for Tuesday, the 29th at the park.
What time?
6:30?
Want to start a little bit early because it's going to get dark?
Yeah, I don't get
Yeah,
that.
let's do it at 6, 5:30 maybe. Well, 6.
Let's do 6. I get off work at 5:30.
Well, I
6
think,
o'clock
you
is
know,
fine.
we need to get people home from work too, you know?
Too, right.
It'll probably go an hour or two.
So this is
Oh, yeah.
not, this is going to be September the 29th at 6 o'clock. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. I got to write it down. My memory can get short sometimes.
I'm with you there, Ben.
I am looking forward to that. You have no idea how bad I want to meet everybody in person.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. I forgotten you haven't.
Nope.
Yeah, we haven't met.
Yeah. Okay. Are we good on this one for now?
Yep.
Yes.
All
Thank
right.
you all.
Thank you again, Ted.
Yeah, thanks, Ted.
Okay, moving on. Ordinance number 2020-46, last one here. An ordinance authorizing the renewal of the agreement for the use of a portion of the Gerald Booker Park Lodge by the American Legion Post 193. This is just renewing an agreement that's been in place forever. I guess it's the exact same agreement that was in place 10 years ago. And I think this is just, again, you know, not housekeeping, but, you know, something that just happened. So I would like to get a motion to suspend the rules on this one so we can pass it.
Moved.
Well, this is again, they're saying that their current authorization doesn't expire until December 31st.
Right.
So from that standpoint, we all agree that this is going to be renewed. But again, I go back to the audits and say, you know, there's no rush for it. We can go the 3 readings.
yes, I agree.
I agree with that. Good catch.
Okay.
Either way, it doesn't matter to me. If it's going to be approved,
Yep.
it's going to be approved.
Yeah,
Yep.
it is. But
I'm not going to argue with you about that, Paula. That's fine. I got no.
just the auditors.
that
Sometimes
sounds good.
Jimmy's gotten hit by it.
No, that's,
Good strategy.
yep.
All right. Any other questions or comments on the legislation? Excellent. All right, moving on. We have the department heads and village engineer reports. First up is Police Chief John Urso.
Okay, good evening, everybody, council. Just a couple things. Our meeting on September 2nd was canceled. And John and I are continuing to work on COVID supplies for our CARES money, and we're getting everything in place for that. We've got some big ticket items we're looking to purchase, and John will probably talk a little bit more about his. I'm looking at possibly some body temperature scanners for the entrances, one for Village Hall and one probably for the Park Lodge. That actually, if we ever get to open back up, when people walk through, it'll automatically take their temperature. So that'll kind of be a little bit more technology as far as having to stand there and take temperatures if we get to that point. So we're continuing to work on that. The other thing, I'm already being approached about trick or treat. I don't think it's fair to give an answer right now. I think we just need to wait and see what the guidelines are as far as statewide, other communities, and where we're at. Because if we make a decision right now, we're 6 weeks out. just too much, there's too many unknowns right now. So I think at this point, we're going to hold off on that, and we can collaborate as we get closer and get better data and see what's in the best interest for our village and what everybody thinks and how we can move forward, and whether it's going to be try to do it safely or parking lot, trick or treats, not quite sure yet. So again, too many unknowns. So we'll have to discuss that a little bit more. And then the only other thing I have is as of right now, our next meeting is tentatively scheduled for October 7th at 6 o'clock via Zoom. So other than that, that's all that I have, Matt.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Anybody have any questions for John?
Joe?
Yeah, there you go. He's next. He's next.
Yeah, John's next.
Yeah, John's next. All right, next up, John.
Yes, I finally had the actually public hearing with NECO for the meters. We will send letters out to the 20th and 21st to each resident and have them call a number to schedule when their meter changed out. So we'll work on that. They will have a crew in town. They will have our letterhead along with their letterhead on this letter going out, and they will begin the install October 5th. They have about 2 or 3 guys that do this. It should be pretty fast and pretty efficient as long as we get people to realize they have a COVID process of themselves, which is going to be stated in the letter, how they wear from head to toe protection, masks, booties, everything to go in the house. And then, of course, the bigger commercial ones will be easier to do. Start contacting them maybe next week. But they have the meters, except the commercial, the other meters have been delivered and are ready to go forward on this project. So it was a great kickoff, and they're going to be moving on this pretty fast on that. The other is Orchard Street, as you've seen. Orchard Street, the south end, other than top coat of paving, looks like it's ready to go. And then the other side has to be paved yet, but that project is actually moving along pretty quickly also. That is all I have for right now.
And then I mentioned at the beginning, when we're talking about the correspondence, Tammy brought up that concerned residents sent an email regarding some potential safety hazards they noticed around town. Now, I know that some of those things that were on his list were already kind of, I guess, like a better word, identified needs, if you will. But I was wondering if you had any comments for the concerned resident right now.
No comments this time. Most of those weren't real safety concerns. There are concerns. It's a matter of priority and budget to get those completed. We will work on them. We have a lot on our plates right now, 2 guys, and they're also going to have to, as we put these meters in too, if there's an emergency shut off and so forth, one of them will be running back and forth. Hopefully our part-timer will start soon. He's finishing the process of the testing and so forth for the background and drug testing. As soon as that's complete, we can get him on board to help out. But yeah, we'll look at that list. We'll evaluate each item on that list, and as budget constraints and time, we're running out of time this year. It's September already. A lot of those projects will be spring, but any safety items will be taken care of, whether sewer grates, holes in grounds and so forth, and then we'll move forward with that. That shouldn't be a problem. If I have to contract them all out by the end of the year, we'll get some of that done. Just a matter of monies.
Yeah, sure. And just regarding the new help that's coming, if I understand correctly, Lizzie, October 1st?
After all the paperwork's not in yet. So as soon as all the paperwork, but that's tentative. Yes, Lizzie, October 1st, and the other one is supposed to start before then.
Okay, and he just has to do the drug test and stuff like that, get that out of the way.
It hasn't been scheduled. We got to get that scheduled. I think the background check is probably done.
Okay, all right, very good. Thanks, John. Anybody have anything for John? All right, up next, Rich from CT.
Yeah, Matt, Council, good evening. Hey, a lot is covered already this evening. You have my written report. I'll just highlight that in Service Committee, I reviewed a redesign concept for the new storage tank on Reservoir Drive. It was met with consent from the committee. I'm proceeding with Village's permission to share it with the county, just to get their feedback and input. And then what I plan to do is coordinate with John, with the property owner, provide some rendering, new rendering, if you will, and then also what we would need in terms of a temporary easement, since we're not going to be building anything permanent on the Gonzi property. So that's moving along. Prospect Street, now that that's authorized, we will cross the T and dot the I on the plans and set up a new schedule to advertise and bid the job. I'm just guessing out loud here, just to permit us enough time, maybe we can award it in November and still get bids now for work next year, so that I think it will be attractive to the bidding climate now for next spring. And then lastly, also I reviewed in service, we had a very, very short notice for round 35 OPWC funding. And I proposed and recommended a water line replacement that also fit the county's identified needs list. That was also met with agreement by the committee. And then I sent to you what was being submitted, which included another 300 foot on 44. So, and thank you, Jenny, for responding. I was projecting like $40,000 to $45,000 on local share. This ended up on budget at 54,000 local share. I went for an 80-20 split. But on water line replacements, I did, if you've seen some of my applications before, I did a lot of good embellishment to make it look and rate very well. So we'll see how that goes. So that had to be submitted today, this morning, prior to council, because today was the deadline. But if there's any questions on that, or there's any concerns, we can always do something later. But we had to meet the deadline for that, at least to have an opportunity to knock out one of those jobs at 80%. So that's all I had, Matt. John reported on the construction progress. We're monitoring that construction and pleased with the progress, actually, both not just at Orchard Street, but with Mr. Lamb on the park. That's all I had.
Excellent. Thank you, Rich. Anybody have any questions or comments for Rich? Very good. Moving on to the individual committees. Mr. Scott Weaver for Service and Planning.
Service, Rich and John have both covered everything that we the reservoir tank replacement, I think everybody will be really pleased with the new renderings. Rich, do you have them? Can you share that so Paula can see it?
Well, no, he sent it out in an email. So
Oh, you did?
It's there. Yeah. I saw it in service and now, yeah.
Okay, great. Because I think that's gonna work much better. So really, they've covered everything. They covered everything for service. Planning, on the other hand, we did have the Kim Mule, who we've been interviewing. We haven't been interviewing. We've been meeting with her about the rental inspections. And we had her come back in for this planning meeting because we're trying to get some clarification on their estimate for the rental inspections. I think we had a pretty good meeting. I think now they understand a little more of what we do want and don't want. It was a little pricey. I didn't want to seem like we were trying to, beat them up, but I think now she understands that we're more into a safety inspection than we are, selling a house. So she's going to come back next month with some new numbers. Hopefully we can get something ironed out and bring to you guys, so we can all take a look at it. Ordinance 2030 and 31, we discussed at length, but we did have to table that because we had no time to get it advertised for third reading. So we went over that tonight. Backlit sign. Oh, the street post signs. I think we discussed that with you guys last month. The landmark committee wanted to change our street post signs, and John had brought up that we needed to contact ODOT about that because they need it for safety reasons. So they kicked it back on us, kicked it back to John, and said it's pretty much what John had told us they need to be breakaway, so John can
Well,
design.
I think the thing that John said is that ODOT put it back into his hands
Right,
to make the decision on how to move forward.
right.
And I think from the council's perspective, we have, and even the new people that have come in said they like the historic
Yes.
feel of the village. And those concrete signs are part of our feel. They've been there since the CCC. So they've been there a long time. The other thing to think about is our 25 miles per hour. Yeah, they're not breakaway. Fire hydrants are in the same category. You know, there are things I think that we need to stop and think about before we say, oops, if they come out and you try to address redoing the concrete ones and repainting them and making them look better. From a historic perspective, I think we need to sit back and think, what would our residents want to see?
Well, I think then the Landmark Commission needs to come to council or come to planning with with some ideas. If they have some different, is there a cheaper alternative?
Well, I
do
mean,
you dig a footer and you set those concrete posts on a footer that they'll topple over if they get hit?
We can talk about this at service. Or,
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So that was on our agenda. So there you go. We'll have something else to talk about. Backlit signs. We reviewed section 45007. We'll be coming to council with some legislation. We're going to have some written up. We'll review it next month and hopefully be sending something up to you guys about that. And the maintenance code, we're kind of picking a few things out of the property maintenance code that we're going to write some legislation on and bring it to council. So that's it.
Paula, just a quick question. What's the CCC?
Oh, that was back under Roosevelt, back during the Depression, where you have I forget what, I know I'm the Nazi on the acronyms, and I always forget what the CCC stands for. But it was established by Roosevelt Franklin as a way to employ people, to get them working in the communities and making some money, restoring some things or building things for the country. And that's where we see a lot of these, I know down at the Cultural Gardens, there is a couple of beautiful stone bridges that go over Martin Luther King Drive. Those were built by CCC. Well, yeah. So there's a lot of things that they have built for us that are historic and worth maintaining.
Okay, interesting. Good to know. Thank you.
It's the Civilian Conservation Corps.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Tammy.
All right, next up, the birthday boy, Marty from Parks and Shade Tree.
Parks and Shade Tree were canceled last month, so we're gonna have them this month, and they will be in council chambers. So bring masks.
Very good. Okay, next up is Mayor Clark for Cemetery and the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I have nothing from her for that. Does anybody have any commentary on the Cemetery and the Board of Zoning Appeals?
No, I don't.
All right, we'll hold that off till next month. If it's something important or pressing, please contact her when she gets back from vacation. Mr. Prescott for Finance.
Jenny went over the financial report, and the only thing we did, we went over all the legislation, and that was it. So that's my report.
Yep.
We didn't do anything else.
Yep, that's about all that happened there. Okay, last up, Paula for PCRP and safety.
Well, PCRP, the Portage County Regional Planning, again, that was briefly talked about, was the Rural Placemaking Innovative Challenge. And there are I think 9 communities that are sort of joining together, submitting those letters of encouragement that we move forward with that. So that was about it. And safety, as Joe said, there was no meeting. But
Yeah.
Joe, I really like seeing those stands out on 44 with the yellow ones in the middle of 44 that say slow down.
Our little green men.
Yeah. Those little, yeah.
Well, kudos to the service department, because the one guy, we call him Maine and Franklin, he got run over about 4 times last year when we first put him out. Dave had to kind of rebuild him. Those were the ones that were actually donated for the pedestrians. So we think we have them strategically placed to where they should be able to survive a while. Just so everybody knows, I'm monitoring traffic on the weekends, especially down near the new coffee shop. And then with the additional businesses that are open across the street, we're getting a lot of traffic. And so we are trying to do some extra traffic enforcement down there. So I think the signs are helping, and then our officers presence down there. So we're trying to slow people down, because on a nice sunny weekend day, we have a lot of pedestrian traffic in the downtown area.
Oh, very good. All right. Any new or other business?
I want to bring up again about Canada Road. And we have talked about it, and I did call Todd Lamb this week to talk to him about it. And he, one of the things I began to realize in our discussion is he likes to start from one end and progress to the other end over time. So, and when I walked today, the eastern end where he said it is turning into dirt, yeah, there's a lot of stones all around, but that's kind of, unless there's a lot of patching going on, that's the normal thing for Canada Road. But I would like to voice the fact that Scott had raised, well, can't we do, instead of only 800 feet every year, which would take us about 5 or 6 years, is it possible to do 1,600 feet and try to cut back the number of years it takes to refurbish this road, to get it up to a better level? And Chief, from the patrol, the police are out here on a regular basis, driving back and forth, and it's got to be impacting the suspension, the vehicles, the buses, the think of our plow trucks trying to go through this, and all the divots that are here. So I would like to bring that up again, and would like to ask council to consider going forward with 1,600 feet. And I don't care whether they start at the east end or at the west bridge. However, if we start at the east end, where Todd had kind of recommended he would like to start, the one thing we have to consider is the culvert bridge that the county will be putting in. And there's about 50 feet that it would be questionable. Was the county gonna take that culvert out next year, replace it, and then kind of blend that roadway in? And are we gonna, if we start where Todd has it mapped out right now, are we gonna just have it end up being replaced? You know, so we may want to move it up a little. But I would like to move that. And Jenny?
Yes.
When the mayor was originally talking about the 800 feet, and do we have 20,000 to do that? You had indicated yes. If we expand that to 1,600 feet, would we have funds available to cover that this year?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have funds the next year then? I mean, is this,
Well, the next year, I think we have a big commitment to West Prospect.
Right.
So we might have to bump it out 2 years.
So we're
And so
not
I
saving
know,
any-
pardon?
So we're not saving any time if you have to pause a year.
Well, what we are saving is wear and tear on some of the cars that have to go, that do end up going over that road. And it is one of the roads that is used as a secondary safety route if High Street closes down.
When is the county going to do that culvert?
Depending on my workload, I have it scheduled for this year. If the weather stays good for us, we can do it. I've got another culvert that is 3 weeks ahead of schedule right now. So that's on my schedule for this year for the county. And we'll blend the asphalt in. We would replace it completely. All the pipes will be replaced and the asphalt blended in to the, with new asphalt.
And right now that surface is not bad. So even if Todd began the 50 feet ahead of it, you could cover from, say, 10 feet off of the bridge, or anyways, you can sort of see where the asphalt changes and move it forward. The 1,600 feet would take you to almost onto the bridge from the eastern side. So if you know where Barry Stamm lives, Chuck Engelhart lives, it'll be a little bit beyond them that the 1,600 feet would take you.
Yeah, and we have one catch basin to put in there that I talked to the guys last week about installing too, where it comes down the hill there and the water ponds. We're gonna put a catch basin and get that water away from going under the road. We'll do that too.
Okay. That would be good. And they did start last year doing the ditches on that end of Canada Road. There are a few little more ditch area that should be addressed coming around the one curve west of Jenny's. But that's on us. But I would like to make a motion that we move forward with 1,600 feet of Canada Road resurfacing, not to exceed $40,000. Okay, move ahead, Matt.
All right.
And just remember, everybody on Canada Road is paying those taxes as well as everybody else in the village. And the police cars as well as plow trucks are being affected. Okay.
All right. Anything else to come before council? Do we need an executive session? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Matt,
Yes.
Tammy,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Paula,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Good job, Matt.
Okay.
Good
Yeah,
evening.
good job,
Nice-
Matt.
Nice
Well,
job.
Joe, I am never going to live down calling you John. That is going to haunt me for the rest. It's going to haunt me for the rest of my life. I'm sorry about
That's probably one of the nicest things I've been called in a while, but thank you.
that.
Good night, everybody.